Ladies and gentlemen, at the time of recording this audio, there are two guys at the top of the NHL in points that we need to talk about. No, it's not the duo in Edmonton that a lot of people probably would have expected to be here at this point in the season. And hey, that duo in Edmonton might actually be good enough to come back and take over that first overall spot and second overall spot by the time the week is over. Who really knows? They're that good, right? But today, we are talking about number 1 and number 2 in the NHL in points at the moment, and it is a two-way tie. There are two players in the NHL who lead the league with 10 points on the year. The two-way tie for 1 and 2 in the NHL is between Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils and ELIAS Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. That is correct, my friends. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are not at the top. In fact, Draisaitl is at 9 points, so he is in a big tie for third place. Connor McDavid is at 8 points, and I mean, I get it. The points per game number, they're still really good. Obviously, everybody getting these amount of points in 5-ish games is not sustainable because it means that so many of these guys are on pace for 160, 70, 80 points even on the year. But Hughes and Pettersson are 1 and 2, and if you take a look at the points per game, Hughes actually edges Petey out by having 10 points in 4 games played. ELIAS Pettersson has 10 points in 5. So do the math over 82 games played right here, and Jack Hughes is on a very exceptional point production pace of 205 points in 82 games. He's on pace for 82 goals and 123 assists. ELIAS Pettersson, on the other hand, is at a much more stable and not as impressive 164-point pace. But the fact that both of these guys are legitimately at 2 points a game, and they are, at the time of recording this audio, two of the only guys who are at 2 points a game, the other one being Jesper Bratt, also of New Jersey, with 8 points. It makes things very, very exciting for Canucks fans and Devils fans who have been seeing the link between these guys. Obviously, Jack Hughes is the middle Hughes. His younger brother, Luke Hughes, has come into the NHL and started scoring a bunch of goals. Funny enough, take a look at this. Luke Hughes had his 2 first NHL goals assisted by Jack, which adds a very interesting opportunity to make some cool stats. Hughes to Hughes times 2, NHL Public Relations says on Twitter. Jack Hughes assisted on Luke Hughes' first and second goals of his career to achieve a rare NHL feat. Jack became the 4th player in NHL history to assist on each of his brother's first 2+ career goals, joining Henrik Sedin, who had assisted on 3 of Daniil Sedin's first goals, Doug Bentley, who had assisted on 2 of Max Bentley's first goals, and Ron Sutter, who had assisted on Rich Sutter's first 2 NHL goals. Very peculiar stat line, something that you don't really think is ever going to pop up. But hey, Jack Hughes assisting to his brother Luke Hughes, it puts them amongst the, I don't want to say the greats necessarily, but amongst a very small amount of company. But of course, these two are only 2 of the 3 Hugheses. The other Hughes, Quinn Hughes, captain in Vancouver, has also been doing pretty good as well, and him and Petey have been bouncing off of each other, reading the offensive zone just exquisitely together. And if you've been watching these Vancouver Canucks games and seeing how the Canucks are getting results in their power plays, there's a reason ELIAS Pettersson has 8 assists in the 5 games he's got, plus the 2 goals himself. He has been on fire, and he hasn't even unleashed that one-timer bomb of a slap shot just yet. In fact, on the power play, you could debate that Quinn Hughes is pretty much doing more work than Petey. And it's not because Petey is bad, it's just because of the positions. Quinn Hughes being in the middle there, passing it back and forth, we always say this, he's every second pass. It usually goes Miller to Hughes to Petey, back to Hughes to Miller, and then you have some interceptions made by Kuzmenko and Besser in there. It's a really nice system, and it's been working. ELIAS Pettersson is always in the right place to get those assists, sending the puck over to other guys, and of course Quinn Hughes getting the puck towards the goal more so this year than he's ever had puts him in a great position as well. But for all the goals that are going in, seeing Jack Hughes go out there and do his thing in New Jersey too has been great. We've been seeing him get robbed a few times, making up for being robbed by scoring great overtime goals, and just feeding his brother in the best way possible. Jack Hughes has been outstanding, and this is the year, I feel, where he really starts to take over everybody's minds as being the first overall projected guy we thought he could be. Sure, he had a rough few years in the NHL before becoming what he is today. He pretty much tainted all of our expectations by posting up only 21 points in his first NHL year. We say this all the time, but in this time frame, 2016, 17, 18, we were so used to the first overall guys just dominating in the NHL. Austin Matthews, 40-goal guy right out of the gate. Connor McDavid, point-per-game guy right out of the gate. Rasmus Dahlin, 40-point defenseman right out of the gate. Even Nico Hischier was a great first overall pick because he got 50 points in his first NHL season. Jack Hughes, disappointed. But give it just a few seasons, and now, after getting 99 points just last season, he is on pace for 205. Now, he is not, most likely not, gonna be the second player in NHL history to ever get 200 points in a season. If anything, Connor McDavid may have something to say about that as the year goes on, but this early projection of Jack Hughes being over 2 points a game, doing what he is doing, and looking great in the process, you can't really go out there and deny what's been going on. But of course, him being tied with Elias Pettersson starts to get you wondering about what Pettersson's ceiling is as well. PD being on pace for 164 is probably not going to come to fruition. He's probably not going to score that many points, but he already had his 102 breakout year last season, so where does PD go from here? You also got to remember that he had 68 points in 80 games in 21-22. That season was probably his big setback, because all the prior years, he was point per game-ish relatively in that territory, only to drop off in 21-22. So for him to bounce back in the huge way he did, getting 100 points and dominating the Canucks in 22-23, that was a pretty good step. But now he's on pace for 164, and only 33 goals on top of that. For Canucks fans, when do you see Elias Pettersson really starting to get that goal-scoring touch back? Not even that he hasn't been scoring goals, he scored a really nice one from Kuzmenko earlier in the Florida game. But we have not seen that one-timer, that patented Ovechkin-Kucherov-like one-timer on that right side on the power play make itself effective just yet. And so heading into the next few days worth of hockey, we've got a lot of games, a lot of extra opportunities for these guys to make some highlight reel plays. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Hughes and Pettersson battle for the first overall spot in the NHL goes along. And I also want to pay attention to just everybody else because, I mean, take a look at the NHL and their scores right now. You've got Dylan Larkin also in that conversation. He's got 9 points. DeBrincat, the Detroit boys, 8 points. Of course, 8 points also. Jesper Bratt is in there. Tavares, Nylander, Kucherov. In terms of goals, you got Brock Besser, who is tied for first in the NHL with Kucherov, Reinhart, and Matthews, which is great. There are a few other storylines here that we're going to have to pay attention to, but my biggest question to the Devils fans and the Canucks fans: how long do you think it's going to take for Draisaitl and or McDavid to pass Hughes or Pettersson in the scoring race this year? They're behind by just a few. Leon Draisaitl had 2 assists in the game against Winnipeg yesterday, so he is at 9 points on the season. Connor McDavid is at 8. The Oilers got off to a pretty slow start against Vancouver in those 2 opening games, but how long does it take for these two to overtake the race as they have been doing so frequently over the past few years? Also, what about other guys? Jason Robertson is a guy that I wanted to call out here because I have him on my fantasy team. I took him 6th overall in my draft, and he has sucked this year. That guy has not produced any points. Not for my fantasy team, not in the real-life NHL. When does that guy come and bounce back, and does he take over PD and or Hughes? I know it's just kind of a random grab bag assortment of questions here, but I'm really curious. What are your thoughts on all these guys and how they're going to proceed in this race of point prosperity in the NHL? Jason Robertson, for reference, has 2 points in 4 games right now, so yeah, definitely not the 109 point score that we had last year. He's busting for my fantasy team. It's not good. Canucks fans, Devils fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elias Pettersson and Jack Hughes? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.